Economics Week 5, we wrapped up Unit 1, going through all the economic basics. Starting the week talking still again with the concepts of supply and demand, going through the graphing, and of course we tested on it for the week. Now the other concepts that we hit were the business models that make up the market. We talked about the differences and also the advantages and disadvantages of a sole proprietorship, running your own business versus having a partnership. We talked about how these are the ones that make up the majority of the businesses that are out there, yet they cannot really make up most of the profit in the country. That is left for the corporations, the large business models that can, in theory, live on forever, that have almost unlimited ways of raising capital, and can also get very creative about making money by becoming what's called a conglomerate, where you tap into multiple unrelated markets, but it still allows many ways to make that profit. Now, of course, we talked about the concept of stock and how you can buy into some of these things, and how stock will fluctuate based on what's going on in the market. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. Sometimes the companies sell unlimited number of stock, as is the case of Microsoft. Sometimes it's an organization that sells a limited amount just for certain purposes, such as, say, the Green Bay Packers. Of course, the publicly traded ones are on Wall Street. We talked about the difference between a bull market and a bear market. Hopefully you remember that is the bull market that people are always wanting to get. Now, as well as stocks, we talked about the more safe way of investing money, which is to get bonds. Bonds that you pay into, and in a certain amount of time you're guaranteed to get something back, provided nothing has happened with the company. Now, that led us to talk about buying and selling, but of course government regulation as well. As great as some of these companies are about making a profit, sometimes they get in trouble, and that's where the government will step in. We talked about what would happen if the airline industry, as has happened in many times in the past, started laying off in mass numbers, what that would mean for the economy. I posed the question of what would happen today if Walmart went out of business. The phrase too big to fail seems to follow some of these corporations throughout the talks of what a government's going to do, which of course in our type of government, we are a mixed economy. We definitely have influence from Adam Smith and the free market capitalism, but our government has had that role of playing regulator for quite some time. As we go through this class, we'll talk more about the specific types of regulations. As for now, I'm simply introducing the idea of government as getting involved every once in a while, and the idea of, like we talked about in class, promoting competition. As I taught you, not that long ago, there was one single phone company. Everything was expensive. You couldn't do much with the phones. They had a lot of control over it, and the government stepped in. Broke up the phone companies. You now have companies that compete, and of course prices and competition has set in. It tends to get better. It's that whole theory that goes along with it. Now, what happens if a government decides not to just play a mixed role and it wants to be much more hands-on? The last concepts I threw at you for the week were the real ideas of a command economy, which is a drastic overcorrection versus the free market capitalism that is practiced so well in many countries around the world. And of course we did our little simulation in class going through the isms, if you will, the capitalism, the socialism, and the communism, talking about the ups and the downs of all of these different economic philosophies when it comes to government. And hopefully you all remember, which is the perfect one? Answer: none of them. Right, there's ups and downs to all of them, and we hopefully have gotten that now with our little experience in class. Week 5, that's it for them.